what is happening with Aave. And we are again colliding this old topic of what are tokens. Are they equity, or is there something else behind tokens? Should they be registered securities? And in 2025, it's the end of 2025. And again, we're at this question. I made a post on Reddit and it gained a lot of traction. It received 240,000 views. And I was posing a question in front of community. What are tokens? Because we had several episodes of Padre, Tensor, the owners of Vector, and then another one was Axelar, when the labs is getting acquired, but the token holders for those protocols, not for the labs, they are not benefiting anyhow from those acquisitions. So we having the main event toward, everyone is working toward that event, the liquidity event. And we buy those tokens hoping that, okay, maybe there will be a lot of revenue for the company who owns the token, and the revenue going to be flowing into the token, or there will be an acquisition and someone will buy this company, so they will buy these tokens. But the reality is we're kind of 6 years after the big DeFi summer, 5 years if we count from 2020, and we see again and again that there is no value accrual happening back to the tokens. Now, we were sold the idea of tokens that those are shares on chain, that we can own those businesses. And maybe that's at least my message that I heard, but also some people said, no, that's not the case. It's not the ownership of the equity. It's just tokens. It's the governance. You can vote with these engines, and these are tokens. They are not securities. And again, we are debating this topic because we have the Aave problem. The Aave fighting with its own DAO. Now, not every, but most of the crypto projects, they have the DAO, decentralized organization, which usually registered somewhere in Virgin Islands, Panama, Zug in Switzerland, somewhere away from the US security laws, from the Securities and Exchange Commission. And then we have the labs, the actual people, the founder who developed. And then the labs, they develop the protocol. The DAO owns that protocol. And then labs usually is the actual people, and labs as a legal entity owns the contracts with the employees. They negotiate the salaries for even the people who will be in the DAO. So, and often the people who are the founders, they are part of the DAO, but not always. And then the DAO owns the protocol, and the protocol makes money, and protocol it's accessible by anyone. Whereas the labs often developed some tooling or some environments how can the protocol can be accessed. And in case of Aave, we had the labs. They own the Aave.com. They own the mobile app for Aave. And then the DAO is, again, they own the protocol and they earn all the revenues that come in from the protocol. Let me go back a little bit and tell what's Aave and why it's so important. It's literally the most important question of 2025, in my opinion, and decision, an event, because this question might put the final dot in the question, what is tokens? Are they equity, or is it something else, some vehicle, governance vehicle that allows you to influence where the company is going to go or not? So what is Aave? In my opinion, Aave is probably the second most important, most serious project in whole crypto. Because if we scale back a little bit and zoom out, what is crypto? And what is the product market fit for crypto? We will consider Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a blockchain, but it doesn't do anything, right? So people just decided that, because there is a final amount and there is no one controlling it, let's just put our money inside of that asset. Let's just buy those little Bitcoins, the Satoshis. Not everyone can afford now a 1 Bitcoin because it's 80K. But let's just decide, everyone just decided. So that's the consensus. Just like gold, there is a finite amount of gold on the earth, but the infinite amount of gold in the universe. But let's decide that gold will be like this precious metal, and right now it's in an all-time high. Same happened with Bitcoin, and let's call it digital gold now. People just decide that, right? And then there was Ethereum, that made that blockchain programmable, that put programming language on the blockchain and allowed people to program the money, program that value and capture that value and iterate and create new and new ways to build value and create value with the blockchain itself, with the technology of storing data, which is blockchain. So the product market fit for this technology is store of value that's already proven, which is Bitcoin. After Ethereum created their blockchain, applications started to appear. And one of the first applications that was on Ethereum is we take the Bitcoins that we have, and then we lock it in the protocol, and we just say on the blockchain, because it's visible, hey, I have this Bitcoin. And then the protocol will lend you money based on whatever you gave the Bitcoin. And it's under collateralized, which means if I give $100 worth of Bitcoin, I can get less than $100. I think the max is for Bitcoin is 80. So I will get $80 worth of my collateral. So my Bitcoin will be locked in Aave protocol, and then I will receive $80. So now I can do whatever I want with those $80 without losing my Bitcoin and without needing to sell my Bitcoin and triggering tax events and all other triggering other events. So that's Aave. And because we established Bitcoin as a store of value and there is a consensus behind it, hence Aave proves itself as a great product market fit, solving that issue, like I can borrow against my assets. So all the other concepts and apps in the crypto, they're not 100% proven. There is a lot of speculations, but Aave did just that. And that gave Aave lots of credibility and of course growth. We're gonna look later at DeFi Llama, how much they grew in the last couple of years. Then let's talk about what's been happening and the drama behind Aave. At the beginning of December, Securities and Exchange Commission drops their case against Aave Labs. So there was a prosecution against them because they grew so fast in 2021, 2022. And SEC, of course, saw that growth. And because they saw that Aave issued a token, here you have it. You have a security, it's unregistered. From the SEC standpoint, that is an illegal act, so they started to prosecute them. The case was in the courts. We have the new administration, which is pro-crypto. The case is dropped at the beginning of December. And then conveniently, I'm not sure if that's connected, but everything usually is connected. What happened is Aave Labs, they own the storefront, which is aave.com, the app.aave.com, and then the mobile app. In that app, there is a third-party provider that helps the users of Aave to swap tokens. And then Aave charges fee for those swaps. So they were using one third-party provider, and then the fees were going into the wallet that was controlled by the DAO, because DAO was benefiting from the revenue that comes from the protocol usage and from the revenue that comes from those swaps on the front end, that happens on the front end. And then that third-party provider was switched from Paraswap to CoSwap. So they switched that. People notice because all of this happens on chain and they start to wonder. And now the fees from the CoSwap not going to the DAO anymore. They going to the wallet that is not affiliated with the DAO and probably affiliated with the Aave Labs. And then we have the conflict. Why this money goes to this wallet now and not to the DAO? And the total amount that was generating in fees was roughly $10 million. And let's look quickly at the DeFi Llama just to give you a perspective. What is this in the overall structure of Aave earnings? So Aave makes annualized $92 million. So what is annualized? It's very important to understand what's annualized. Annualized is just we take last 30 days, 1 month, and then times it's 12. So it doesn't mean everything that they made in 1 year. It's not the cumulative amount that they made in 1 year. It's just the last 30 days times 12. Let's just take that amount. So 92 million, and then additional 10 million was made from those fees that were happening on the front end. So very small amount, but it's very important in principle where those additional 10 goes. And then it's possible that in 5 years, it will become even larger. Maybe the front end will make more money as the crypto and Aave becomes more as a consumer product and not just like fringe on-chain decentralized application. So they make 92 mil from the protocol and then additional 10 they make from those swaps. What happened is the Paraswap changed to the CoSwap, and then the 10 mil now will be going to this different wallet. Then we have the question posed in front of the community, the Aave token holders, who should be owning the front end, who should be owning the Aave.com, the mobile app, and where the money should be going to. That's again this conflict between the labs and the DAO. Who should own what? Now in this scheme, you can see that The protocols owns the product, the treasury, the smart contracts, and the governance, the voting powers. And the labs owns, which is the legal entity. Again, that's where actual people are, and the employee contracts are. They own the mobile app and the brand itself, Aave, the domain. So the vote that was posed in front of the community was, should DAO owns those assets, these IP assets, so that there is 100% control and all the money goes back to the DAO and not to the labs or someone else, because everyone sees what's happening with the Padre, with the Axelar, that there is no real ownership, that the labs can get acquired, can go, anything can happen with the labs. Actually, if the labs just cease to exist, the protocol is still out there because it's public. But the labs provides the storefront. That's where the people come in to interact with the protocol. And if there is no storefront, 99% of people or 95% of people, they won't be able to enter that storefront to interact with the protocol. Then the DAO will have to build their own storefront and invest in the building it. But the whole traction already established with the Aave.com, with the mobile apps, and it's a huge, it's a 5 years work of this whole team that they were working on. So big question. So the vote happened today, and guess the outcome. Stani, who is the founder of Aave Labs and the founder of the protocol, he's the creator of Aave, but not the creator of the DAO. He is more affiliated with the labs. He voted against this initiative because he represents now more of the labs. So he wants to retain the control over the labs and what's happening. He voted against this initiative, and that was 33% of the vote. And then other people, the big Aave holders of the tokens, they abstained from the vote, and the results were 62% were against merger of the DAO and the IP assets, and only 4% was for the merge. And that just shows you that the whole idea of decentralized governance, it just doesn't work. It's just like trying to build a communism, and we know that we cannot have equal rights for everyone. Someone will be always a little bit more equal than the other. It shows you how the whole ideas of cypherpunk and the decentralization and the governance, that they just happen by the vote. And if you have the token, you have the same amount of vote that someone else, as long as you have the same number of token. It's only possible for small groups of people, but the moment we have big money involved, we have big power plays, and people like founder will always have more say into whatever the community has, because he's the founder. It's his baby. He has a vision. And currently where we are right now with Aave, that's just one step in his grand vision. And we got here through that vision and through his will of building this product. And even though we're gonna give the rights for governance to all these people, to the holders, look at that, such a divisive problem that I just explained to you, but only 4% voted for it. Middle people, somewhere in between the just regular holders of Aave token and the founder itself, maybe like the people who are more involved, because there is like Aave Foundation, there are other projects that were built using the Aave protocol. They'll just abstain from it because they're like, hey, this is your project, you know where you're taking it, you already made a lot of money to us, we built our businesses based on your project, and we're just gonna abstain from this. We're not gonna vote for it, but we're also not gonna say against it. So now that we know that DAOs don't really work, and the whole idea of decentralized, anyone who says, oh, this is decentralized, this is governance token, it's all bullshit basically. It's all fugazi ideas trying to sell you. It sounds great, leaning towards socialistic ideas that you will be able to say where things gonna go. And at the end of the day, our tokens are unregistered securities. We are month after month, year after year, and cycle after cycle, we're getting closer to the idea that tokens, at the end of the day, they're just securities. Crypto tokens, they just happen to be unregistered securities. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, the Reddit post I posed in front of the cryptocurrency Reddit, there was this user, Maximum Student 1839, and we were talking with him and debating for what's the value should be of the tokens. If the tokens are equity, then should we value the equity just like the tech companies value their equity based on the future cash flows? And his point was, actually, it was a wrong ideas that it's part of the equity, and we should be applying those valuation frameworks to tokens. And what he says that is 80% of, if we're comparing the Ethereum, where the Ethereum price growth come from. And he says that 80% of assets growth history didn't depend on equity and cash flow. It tells me the underlying demand never really gave a fuck about cash flow and equity. So he says that whatever Ethereum price right now, it was never, so right now it's what, $3,000. And the valuation didn't come from the cash flows. No one was looking at the Ethereum cash flows. People only now started to apply those frameworks. And that's the mistake, and we shouldn't be doing that. Then he says that most of these network tokens either become lindy enough as Pokemon cards or fade away. Now, I was really hoping that I will not Google the word or ChatGPT ask the GPT what's lindy is, but lindy is when something is valued at high price for the long periods of time, there is a big chance that it will continue being valued at high prices and even grow in value. And so lindiness is the ability for an asset to retain its value and even appreciate in price. So he compares all the tokens, all the cryptos is more like Pokemon cards, basically collectibles, or gold. There is a consensus and people just decide, okay, we're gonna value this price, we're gonna value this asset, XRP gonna be this price, and it doesn't matter that it's all a scam, all pre-minted, they just issue the more of these assets to themselves, but we're just gonna agree that it's valued at this price. And it's interesting to think about all the tokens in that way, because we have the Ethereum programmability, all of this tech, additional tech that was built on top, but all of it is just an addition to the asset, and the core value of it, it's not the future cash flow, it's just the belief. So more of a like religious belief that this asset's gonna stay in price and nothing else, which is hard for me to grasp my mind to value, because I always wanted to value tokens and crypto based on the future cash flow, because we're gonna have tech businesses on chain, we're gonna see the growth on chain and the value gonna come from that. People see the transparency, it's decentralized, permissionless, people can access it, people can use it, and we can see the growth on chain, not quarterly reported through the SEC filings. Now in 2025, it just shows, no, you cannot value it based on the future cash flows because it's not securities. It should be valued as a collectibles or like commodities like gold. He also says that it's the same story with all store of value assets. Why do people buy gold? It's all the same. It's about cultural appreciation and consensus. The rest of the comments for this thread, for this post was, they just was talking about the altcoin season, because I titled it as an altcoin season is dead, but not many people wanted to interact and to think more about why the altcoin season is dead, because I was telling them that the DAOs and labs are forever in fight. The maximum student was one of the few who actually started to argue why that happening, and that we should not look at the tokens as an equity and look at the future cash flows and give them those qualities of a equity. Now, having said all of that, at the beginning of 2026, I think what's going to happen is we're going to look back at Gary Gensler and actually change our minds on his stance toward crypto and all that prosecution that was happening, because what was he doing as a head of Securities and Exchange Commission? He was just following the law. And the law says if you are issue some piece that can be traded, bought and sold, and people can start putting their life savings, pension funds, buying that asset, you should not be saying that there is any future money or cash coming toward these assets. There will be no appreciation. And if you're going to do that, you need to register it as a security. And whatever, how long the corporate law exists, but people tried lots of different structures and trying to circumvent these laws. But at the end of the day, are you security or not? And if you are, register. And if you register, boom, you can advertise yourself. You can just say why your value gonna accrue or increase. And I think people gonna change their mind on Gary Gensler and start saying like, he was actually right. We're gonna have a couple pumps where people gonna lose a lot of money. They're gonna put, for you, it's fine. We're gonna lose our money because we know we are in this industry. We know how to evaluate it, how to look on sometimes on the bubble maps and see if it's bundle or not. All of that stuff we will know. But there are some people out there who are the dentists, maybe dentists are also gambling, but people who are not in the industry, they're gonna see the big advertising campaign, they're gonna buy some token, and then they're gonna lose all their money because it was unregistered security, and at the end of the day, it will be a scam because that will be a loophole for all the scammers to go through. So those are my thoughts. Leave a comment in below to tell me, what do you think? What is tokens? How they should be valued? Should they be valued more like gold, Pokemon cards, or at the end of the day, are they shares of a company? And in case of Aave, if you want to buy Aave token, are you buying it because you expect the value to come in from all the activity, the economic activity happens on the blockchain and from the storefront? Or you just think that Aave will be just an idea and people will just decide to value it higher later down the road? Thank you and see you in the next video.